How very, very lovely, I guess. Whatever. Anyway. Right, with that important bit of information done, let's move on to Harbinger. He was a thinker, and as far as the PRT, he was a thinker, and as far as the PRT could tell, his power was a hyper awareness of space and of his own body movements. Now, that was not his actual power. His durability allowed him, his durability allowed him to quote unquote, why? His durability allowed him to see the numbers, the math that governed the world, with said math appearing in front of him in the air. However, I will say, given the information that PRT was able to realistically acquire at the time, the guess was not a bad one, since as you will see, the nature of Harbinger's power did give him, in a manner of speaking, an increased awareness of the space around him, and an increased awareness of the space around and of his body's movements in said space. No, perhaps not in the way the PRT may have assumed. Hmm. To be honest, I am more than a little uncertain. Oh, to be honest, I am more than a little uncertain on how exactly I will be going about. Well, I am more than a little uncertain on how exactly I will be going about how I'll be going about elaborate. To be honest, I am more than a little uncertain on how exactly I will be elabor. To be honest, I am more than a little uncertain on how exactly I will be elaborating upon. I am more than a little uncertain on how exactly I will be elaborating upon. To be honest, I am more than a little uncertain on. To be honest, I am more than a little uncertain on how I will elaborate upon Harbinger's power. Mostly, most, mostly because To be honest, I am more than a little uncertain on how I will elaborate upon Hubbard's power, mostly because I find it a little more difficult to. Yes, I am more than a little uncertain on how I will elaborate upon Hubbard's power, mostly because I find it a little more difficult to exposit about the power. A little more difficult to expose about something. At least most, if not all, other capes I've. Mostly because I find it a little more difficult to exposit about something that is much more mental in nature. At least most, if not all, other capes I have described up to this point. I'm more than a little uncertain on how I will. I don't want this. Anyway. Anyway, while I suppose I will. While I suppose I. Anyway, while I will. While I will talk about things related to Comet a bit later in this section, due to the while I will talk about things related to combat a bit later in this section. This is the general nature of horsepower. I will, I suppose, warn you here. I will, I suppose, warn you here that giving a better well, I will talk. Anyway. Interesting. Anyway. Anyway. Right. Right. Anyway. Anyway, since Harbinger's power isn't quite as showy, as it were, as other, I suppose I'll a bit listy in the. Anyway, since Harbinger's power isn't quite as showy, as it were, as other powers, I suppose I'll give a bit of a warning here and say that things may be a bit listy in the following section. Anyway, since Harbinger's power isn't quite as showy, as it were, as other powers, I suppose I'll give a little bit of warning here, state that things may be a bit, maybe a bit listy in this upcoming, that things may be a bit listy in this upcoming section. As in, since Harbinger's power is predominantly and more so widely applicable to a large variety of situations. As in, since Harbinger's power is predominantly mental in nature, and more so widely applicable to a large variety of situations, props. As in, since Harbinger's power is predominantly mental in nature, and more so widely applicable to a large variety of situations, I will, perhaps more than any other. I will, perhaps more than any other pyramid I've done before, be spending quite a large slice of time simply. I mean, a video. I don't know what else it would be for, so, you know. I'm not a very good writer. I mean, I don't know. I do well enough with scripting stuff for videos, but you know, it's for a video script, not a story. I mean, if you want to be pedantic, is that the right word? If you want to be odd about it, I mean, I don't know. Video is a story in its own right. I mean, I don't know. That's being weird about it. Anyway, I will, perhaps more than any other parahumans I've done before, be spending quite a large slice of time simply. Anyway, since Harbinger's power isn't quite as showy, as it were, as other powers, I'll give a bit of a warning here and state that things may be a bit listy in this upcoming section. As in, since Harbinger's power is predominantly mental in nature, and more so widely applicable to a large variety of situations, I will, perhaps more than any other parahumans I have done before, be spending quite a large slice of time simply going through said applications. Right. quite know how to segue. I don't quite know how to. Oh wait. Let's see numbers. With said that appearing form. Alright, I don't quite know how to segue from that, but okay, let me. Where's my pen? I need to note stuff I need to put later. Let's see that. Let's see. That might be a bit later. That might be a bit later. That's there. X amount of details. Blah blah blah. Okay. That's all well and good. Good control. Blah blah blah. Description. That could be a section by themselves. Highly efficient. Blah blah blah. That can go for actual physical things. Melee range. Okay, let's see how that goes. Right, I don't quite know how to segue from that, but I don't quite know how to segue from it, but oh. Alright, I don't quite know how to segue. Right. I don't like that. Right. I will begin more macro level. Right. I will begin on a more macro. Is that the right way to describe it? I'm not sure. Alright, I will begin on a more macro level. That doesn't sound right. Right. I already said red over there. I can't do red again. Lovely. So. No, everything's fine. No, evidently, since he was a member of the Salthouse line, there will be some time. There will be an little dedicated to. Hello, evidently, since he was a member of the Salthouse line, there will be more than a little time. However, that will be later. For now. I will begin on a more. I will begin. However, that will be later. For now, I will begin from the. However, that will be later. For now. Okay, that's alright. However, that will be for later. For now, I will begin with. God dang it. However, that will be for. However, that will be later. However, that will be later. However, that will be for later. Before later. However, that will be for later. However, that will be for later. However, that will be for later. At the current moment, I guess I'll try to... However, that will be for later. At the current moment, I guess I'll try to... Alright, however, that will be for later. At the current moment, I guess I'll try to... Or that will be for later. In the current moment, I guess I'll... However, that will be for later. At the current moment, I will begin. However, that will be for later. At the current moment, I will begin by... That will be for later. However, that will be for later. At the current moment, I will begin by... How do I... However, that will be for later. At the current moment, I will begin by elaborating. However, that will be for later. At the current moment, I will begin by elaborating further. Yeah, there we go. However, that will be for later. At the current moment, I will begin by elaborating further on how Harbinger himself working concert. That will be for later. At the current moment, I will begin by elaborating further on how Harbinger himself worked in concert with his power. As far as I could tell, I think an important thing to note. Interesting, okay. However, that will be for later. At the current moment, I will begin by elaborating further on how Harbinger himself worked in concert with his power. I think pertinent initial thing to note. Built thing to note is that, as far as you can tell, is that, as far as I is or at least was not always as present, or at the very least was not always as. However, I will be is that, as far as I could tell, this power was not always on, or the release was not always as present. From what I was able to discern. As far as I could tell, his power was not always on, or at the very least was not always as present. From what I was able to discern. What I was able to discern, one way he could manifest his power was simply pausing and no, and that's one way he could manifest his power was simply pausing and concentrating, and from there the numbers would appear. No, in that same vein, he also seemed to be able to set the numbers at a certain. No. I think a pretty interesting note is that, as far as I could tell, his power was not always on, or the release was not always as present. From what I was able to discern, need to From what I was able to discern, to manifest the numbers. From what I was able to discern, to manifest the numbers, he needed to pause and concentrate. From there, he seemed to be able to be able to set how visible his power was to him. From there, he seemed to be able. Then, he seemed to be able to set how visible he seemed to be able to set how visible said. Then, once they were out, he seemed to be able to set how visible said power in front of them. Nah, that doesn't sound right. Then, once they're out, he seemed to be able to set how visible where else he seemed to be able to set power. Oh gosh. Now, I can't really. Now, hmm. Hmm. Oh, wait, what's that stupid joke? Where is it? Let me look something up quickly. Yeah, good luck indeed. Hmm. Now I am certain. Hmm. Now I am certain you can use your own imagination on. Then, once they were out, he seemed to be able to set how visible said power was. Now, I'm certain you can use your own imagination on what seeing the numbers actually looks like when in active use, but hmm, but hmm. Uh, uh, then, once they were out, he seemed to be able to see how how best that power was. Now, now, since that's pretty. What the heck? Why is there? I messed that up. Now, since as previously noted, now, since, as previously noted, his power had such a wide range of applications, one can imagine that. One can imagine what. One can imagine that what math. One can imagine that the math he ended up series. As a bit goofy as it is. Now, since, as previously noted, his power had such a wide range of applications, one can imagine that the math he ended up seeing varied greatly from situation to situation. As a bit goofy as it is, I suppose the various equations could be as a bit goofy as it is, I suppose the various equations memes could be a decent enough. Could be. As a bit goofy as it is, I suppose the various equation memes could be. As a bit goofy as it is, I suppose the various equations memes could be decent enough ways one could visualize. Certainly, it probably isn't. As a bit goofy as it is, I suppose the various equations could be decent enough ways one could visualize Harbinger's power, at least. As a bit goofy as it is, I suppose the various equations memes could be decent enough ways one could visualize Harbinger's power, though. Oh, Encarta. Oh. No, in contrary to the general spirit. No, in contrast to the spirit said. No, in contrary to the general spirit said memes. Now, however, that will be for later. At the current moment, I will begin by elaborating further on how Harbinger himself worked in concert with his power. I think a pertinent initial thing to note is that, as far as I could tell, his power was not always on, or at the very least, was not always as present. From what I was able to discern, to manifest the numbers he needed to pause and concentrate. Then, once they were out, he seemed to be able to set how visible said numbers were. Now, since, as Freeze noted, his power had such a large, one can imagine that the bat he ended up seeing varied greatly from situation to situation. As big goofy as it is, I suppose the various equations memes one could memes. As a bit goofy as it is, I suppose the various equations memes. As a bit goofy as I suppose the various As a bit goofy as it is, I suppose the various memes As a bit goofy as it is, I suppose the various memes and jokes depending As a bit goofy as it is, I suppose the various memes and jokes depicting someone As a bit goofy as it is, I suppose the various memes and jokes depicting someone surrounded by various math equations. As a bit goofy as it is, I suppose the various memes and jokes depicting someone surrounded by various math equations could be. I suppose the various memes and jokes depicting someone surrounded by various math equations are a decent. Various memes and jokes depicting someone surrounded by various math equations are a decent enough ways one could realize Harvard's power. Though, when contrary to the general spirit. No, in contrast to the general spirit, sent images and videos to Harbinger did seem Though, in contrast to the general spirit said images and videos took, Harbinger was significantly less distressed about sorting through and understanding all the math presented to him. But I don't think that's right. Since as previously noted, his power had. Then once they were out, he seemed to be able to set how visible said numbers were. Now, since as previously noted, his power had. Now, since as previously noted, his power. Now, since. Now, since his power had such a. Now, since as previously noted, his power had such. Now, since, as previously noted, his power had such a wide variety of opponents, one can imagine that the Matty ended up seeing very greatly from situation to situation. As a big goof as it is, I suppose the various memes and jokes depicting someone depicting someone surrounded by various macros are decent enough ways one could visualize Harbinger's power, though in contrast to the general spirit. No, in contrast to the general spirit of said images. Though, in contrast to the general spirit of said images and videos, Harbinger was. Now, in contrary to the general spirit of said images and videos, Harbinger generally did not seem too distressed about. Now, in contrary to the general spirit of said images and videos, Harbinger generally did not seem too distressed about. All that said, okay. Now, in contrary to the general spirit of said images and videos, Harbinger generally did not seem too distressed about all the math he needed to sort through and understand. All that said, well, I don't think he experiences his power quite the same every time. All that said, well, I don't think he experiences his power quite the same way. He experiences his power quite the same way every time. I will mention that well, I don't think he experiences his power quite the same way every time. I will mention that when all that said, while I don't think he experiences power quite the same way every time, I will mention that when it relates to more physics. All that said, well, I don't think he experiences his power quite the same way over time. I will mention that one way it has been. No. All that said. Hmm. Uh, I mean, yeah, you can. I mean, that'll be later, but I'm. I will admit the way I worded this, I could probably word it better, but from what I was able to see, it doesn't take. It's not that long of a pause. Like this amount of time that it takes to pause and concentrate, it doesn't really take that long. Like if I remember the scene correctly, it literally was just stopping a bit what he was doing, and then after a little bit, they appear. And like I said, since I note that he can sort of like presumably set the visibility of them, I feel like, well, I won't note it here, but I feel like from a reader's perspective, it's a sensible inference to make that in much more in situations where it requires more haste, the numbers would be there. I mean, more quick. I mean, like for example, like we have an interlude where it shows Harbinger in combat. Sure, mostly for like probably brevity and mostly so to let the reader use their own imagination. It doesn't go into too much detail. I would say ultimately considered about the numbers working as he's fighting, but yeah, he is more than capable of fighting hand to hand or like melee combat in tangent with his power. Though I will mention later that he is better at more ranged based things, and I'm certain you can make your own conclusions on why he would be better at more ranged or like third party related things when it comes to his power. Mainly because you could say he's much more in control in those situations. Like if he has like a sniper rifle, right, or a gun of any sort, he has much more control from more or less from a range perspective to aim, blah blah blah, seal the mat and aim true and all that jazz. While perhaps due to depending on who he's fighting, obviously, from a more hand-to-hand perspective, things have to work quicker. But yeah, but he can, yeah. Probably not the best answer or elaborating, because I'm still thinking about this while I'm answering that question. But I don't know about his shard particularly speeding up his process during conflict, because I feel like his shard already does a lot for him. Like, I'm not gonna, like, I'm trying to remember, but I don't think we really know too much about Harbinger before they were Harbinger and all that jazz. But Harbinger has had their powers from a very young age. And, well, yeah, he's a kid. I can't remember how it was, but he was really young, like before teenage years, I think, or just on the cusp of teenage years. I don't remember, but yeah. So, unless he was like a genius person already, I mean, it's probably already assumed that his power did a lot of legwork to help Harbinger in his young age to have a pretty good understanding of what all the numbers even mean in the first place. And as I'll note here, there's a lot of there is a lot of ways it could probably manifest, and as I'm about to note here, I'm gonna just talk about one way that it has been shown, how he kind of perceives and sees it. I don't think it really answers the question, but whatever. Anyway, now when contrary to the general spirit of said images and videos, Harbinger generally did not seem too distressed about all the math that he needed to sort through and understand. All that said, while it likely isn't the definitive way he may have experienced, while it likely isn't the definitive way he may have experienced his powers, a way that has been is this sense of slow motion, as in the numbers click into place. As in, at least when it comes to more physics-based things, the numbers click into place in front of him so quickly. As in, at least when it comes to more physics-based things, the numbers click into place in front of him so quickly that while mentally he already knew what was projected to happen in real. Seeing numbers click into place so quickly that is seeing. Knew what was projected to happen in real time. As in, at least when it comes to more physics-based things, the numbers clicked into place in front of him so quickly that while mentally, no. As in, at least when it comes to more physics-based things, the numbers click into place. The numbers clicked into place. Numbers clicked into place so quickly that all mentally. Nah, that doesn't sound right. Is a sense of slow motion. Is a feeling it's a feeling of slow motion. As in, at least when it comes to more physics, at least when it comes to more physics based things, the numbers clicked into place so quickly that even though mentally as in, at least when it comes to more physics-based things, the numbers clicked into place so quickly that even though mentally he already knew what was projected. As in, at least when it comes to more physics-based things, the numbers clicked in place. That doesn't sound right. All that said, while it likely isn't the definitive way he may have experienced his powers, a way that has been shown to us is a way that has... That doesn't sound right. All that said, while it likely isn't the definitive way he may have experienced his powers, no. While it likely isn't the definitive way he may have. All that said, while it likely isn't the definitive way he may have experienced his powers, while it likely isn't the definitive way he may have experienced his powers. All that said, while it likely isn't the definitive way he may have experienced his powers, a way that has been shown to us is Well, that said, while it likely isn't the definitive way he may have experienced his powers, a way that has been shown to us is how the numbers. Yeah, that makes a degree of sense. That makes sense more than anything. I mean, I figured. I mean, I guess I figured that's how a lot of powers work in a way. There's like some unconscious prep, I guess. So the person themselves don't have to do as much work when it comes to applying their power. You know, shortcuts and all that. I mean, it's all over the place if you think about it. Like if you go to Skidder, he doesn't control every. Like if I remember correctly, Skidder doesn't control every single bug in her range. It's more of like a mass. You know, that helps with things, but I think she could focus enough where she can focus on more individual bugs, obviously. And earlier on, I was talking about King. Like King's power didn't necessarily need him to transfer his injuries away. The power itself or whatever sort of was already primed and ready. Uh well, eventually I'm gonna redo the Undersiders videos, I guess, after I do all this mess of Slaughterhouse 9 videos, because I looked over my scripts for the Undersiders and my notes for the Undersiders from way back when, from a few years ago, and I'm like, man, it's like nothing here. It's actually kind of amazing to me now that I think about it, because like a prime example is how Skidder's range. I mean, this isn't about how many bugs. I mean, maybe there is a note somewhere, but it just goes to show how little notes I took for earlier videos. But anyway, like one of the displayed ranges for her at least range, not really limit of bugs, but a range of her bugs is like 4 blocks. And I was looking at my old script, not my video, because I don't for the most part once it's uploaded. I mean, I'll watch through it once I'm done with it in like editing, but I generally don't really watch them. But anyway, I note that her range was around like 3 to 4 blocks, and in the video or the script, I said, oh, I don't really know what a block is, or a US block or whatever, because I don't think there's a real uniform way on what counts as a block in the US or whatever. Anyway, but in that case, I was like, oh, but I'll make an estimate about how a block was around this and this. But the funny thing about that is that I looked at that and I'm like, huh, maybe. So I went back to the wiki, and then after not even like a minute of searching, you know, I did a little search the page, I typed in blocks, got there, then I clicked the source, and the author themselves said a block in this case was 300 feet. And I'm like, wow, that's something I missed, or just didn't bother to look at when I made the Undersiders videos way back when. Like, I think those Undersiders videos are still a decent enough introduction to them, but evidently since then the way I like to make videos isn't quite like that anymore. I like to go not super in depth, but just a little more in depth when it comes to how I describe certain characters. So whenever I end up redoing those videos, I'm gonna say, oh, her range is 3 to 4 blocks, and in this case, a block is 300 feet, and oh, it gives you a pretty good range, right? Wow. But that's neither here nor there yet. But yeah, like, I guess going back to King, his power, I'm pretty sure this primed him up beforehand. So whenever he got injured, he didn't need to like, oh no, I have a cut on my hand. I'm gonna transfer that injury away. I mean, he probably, an aspect of his power probably was that, but the other aspect was just that since his shard, whatever, was linked, tied to him, you know, etc., etc., he didn't really need to go through that process of get injured. Oh, I have an injury. Oh, get rid of the injury. It was get injured, but but as the injury is taking place, the injury goes away because I don't really want to go back into that part because I'm doing this part, but like that's why the author said that a way that you could kill King to avoid his power was to just kill him in his sleep. But the thing is, it has to be a really deep sleep, and he said like REM sleep, because when in REM sleep, it's King himself and his shard were both inactive enough that the injury sustained while in that state wouldn't register, I guess. But you know, obviously though, it has to be a real quick kill, so you know, you better go for an instant kill that can kill instantly. Because you know, theoretically, even if you go for like the heart, theoretically, I guess King could be suddenly woken up for that for just the briefest of moments, and then you're screwed. But whatever. Let me finish this part. No, in contrast to the spirit of sentiment, Harbinger generally not seen, blah blah blah. All that said, while it likely isn't the definitive way he may have experienced his powers, a way that, I mean, that was a method up there, because there are because I divide when I went to like King's section up here, yeah, right here or right here, it was divided into, you know, ways to kill him and ways to restrain him, and I focused a bit. I admit I tend to focus a bit more on like going for the kill when it comes to my videos, but you know, there's a bit about how to restrain him too. But yeah, one of them was to like precisely hit the brain, blah blah blah, and whatnot. But yeah, that is a way. Go for a specific part of the brain. Except, you know, you gotta be pretty precise about that. Because, you know, yeah. And as I imagine, it's not, as I note in that section, probably more than, since King was the leader. Yeah, Numberman probably could do that. Actually, I don't know. Since you're the only one here, how much of the Worm proper have you read? Now that I think about it. Because from my understanding, I know a lot of people know Worm tangentially or like from secondhand. Like, I feel like a lot of people who like Worm and read and know about Worm. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's fair enough. I would say that too, but like, since starting making these videos, mostly for fun. Oh, yeah. Since I've started doing these videos for fun, I've been refreshed on a lot of things, and of course, I've learned a lot of other things that I wouldn't have really known or cared about, really. Or, yeah. I mean, since you ever read, it's not really much of a spoiler, but like, I can't, I mean, because I don't really remember where it is, but there's an interlude later, right? And, oh, like, spoiler, I guess, for a story that you've already read, technically, and are rereading, but in that case, to kill King, it was a combination of Jack and Harbinger, and it was like, oh, well, that's the funny thing about Ward. Funny thing about Ward is I've tried to read Ward several times, and it's not like I dislike it, but I don't know. Maybe I'll try again, but I just can't get into Ward. It's not like it's not like I mean, I don't know. It's just, I can't pinpoint quite. It's probably because I haven't read enough of Ward, but like I've gotten like to 6. I don't remember 6.0. I mean, that's probably not that long into Ward, but I got a bit past what you could consider the intro, I guess. I think. Well, I say that right now, but I'm blanking on where I stopped. But I don't know. But yeah, I guess in terms of more specific towards Worm, yeah, in combination of oh, I guess that's a decent way in to get into Ward. If my memory serves right, if I did get to like 6, I mean obviously it's not too deep into it, fair enough, but I don't know. I feel like when I got to War, I'm just reading like the first part got me into it, but like in Ward, I was like, I don't know about this, and then even by 6, I'm still like, I don't know about this. But whatever. Anyway, back to my point about Harbinger and Jack Slash. But yeah, Jack's Harbinger helped aim, and then Jack Slash used his little blade power, which and I'll get to him like way later in this script, to like precisely shove his blade up King's nose to hit King's corona palantia, the power center of the brain. So, theoretically, I'm a normal person probably could do that, but that's some like very precise aiming and whatnot, and a very specific situation. Because I also note that since more than anyone, the leader of the Slaughterhouse Nine probably would always have other Slaughterhouse Nine members around them, and in the case where King, in the case where Jack Slash and Harbinger killed King, I can only assume in that moment King either already still thought of Harbinger. Oh, I don't remember honestly, my brain, but I think that was the implication. But even if it was like makes it uncontrollable, like I think it would still be applicable, since even if for just a brief moment, if King's power were just for a brief moment like not working quite right, there's implication that was enough for him to just die. And plus, I'm trying to. It also doesn't help that like the author can be a bit vague sometimes, which is fine. But anyway, let me actually finish this though, and blah blah blah. All that said, while it likely isn't the definitive way he may have experienced his powers, a way that has been shown to us is how the numbers he sees click space so quickly. Because I always forget about the whole gamma and like corona plancha. Because what was it like? Oh gosh, I'm gonna go through my memories. The gamma is like. Oh gosh, oh my memory's so bad. Well, I guess what was it? I think like the gamma and the corona plancha, the gamma's like part of the corona plancha or whatever. Like the gamma is like the active use part. So I mean, in that same vein, right? If you aim for the corona plancha, you'll probably also get the gamma and all that jazz. But then again, like that the whole bit about like the Palantia and like and gamma are like, I won't say vague, but like it's just kind of there. Because I remember when I was looking into it for another video, I think it was like trigger events, I think, or whatever. Anyway, it talks about, oh, sometimes the Gemma's there, sometimes the Gemma isn't there, blah blah. I mean, who knows, like what Contessa was exactly intending to do. I mean, that's why I kind of like the ending of Worm in that sense that it's a little ambiguous, you know. Like, you know, maybe Taylor. I guess it's a bit ambiguous. Like, oh, were those two shots because to get both parts? I mean, maybe. I mean, I guess maybe to make sure. But like I said, it's this weird thing where like I'm trying to recall, like the Colonel Palencia and the Gemma, technically they're part one and the same, sort of, where Gemma is part of the Palencia, but like technically the Palencia isn't always in the same place in the brain. I mean, yeah, fair enough. Or because how like sometimes the Colonel Palencia and isn't in the same place, and the Gemma isn't is there but not, and not to mention like all the weird stuff with like the Case 53s, how I guess technically some of them don't even really have a Palencia or a Gamma. It is weird, but there's probably a good reason why there was two. It probably is that, just to like make doubly sure, maybe, I don't know. You know, make sure one gets rid of the power and the other one make sure a power never manifests again or something. I don't know, but in that sense though, who knows? Because I like, a part of me likes the idea that Taylor did die there, and that what we see in that little after thing was like some weird like before death dream or whatever you want to call it, you know, seconds before death, etc., etc. But another part of me is like, you know, maybe it's nice to know that after all of that, somewhere out there, Taylor is like being relatively normal in some Earth somewhere. Anyway, I mean, maybe Contessa would know. I mean, that's a fair assessment. But who knows? This was like the very end, so I don't know. And this is more like headcanon stuff, obviously. But you know, who knows how it would be? You know what I mean? You know, I guess you know, at the end, there's a fair bit of like ambiguity and like vagueness on even at the end, and even with Ward knowledge that I occasionally sprinkle in to my videos here and there. Like the whole way powers work and whatnot are still not the most, what do you call it, thorough, I guess. Which I guess is fine. You know, there's enough about it that you can sort of talk about it and whatnot, but there's enough left out there where you can like fill in your own blanks and whatnot. Like knowing, I don't know if I'll ever make something related to Contessa specifically. Maybe I will, just a one-off, to see how Contessa's power works. Because who knows? Because even now, I can't. It's hard for me to really remember exactly, because I don't know if it was ever really described. It's kind of like Coil's power, like Coil's power and like Contessa's powers kind of fall in that category where you have a vague general idea, a vague but you know clear enough idea of how they work, but when you really think about it, you're like, how does that work? Like, how does Contessa really function in a day to day and like in general with Path to Victory on and blah blah blah, and like exactly, and you know other considerations like, oh, if we're inefficient in this path or whatever, this makes this better, more optimal path to go forward. It's, you know, stuff like that. Same with Coils, because if you go online and look up Coils, see people talk about Coils power, like that Coil's power is very unclear. Like I feel like one common. Oh really? I might have. My memory's bad because I haven't done anything with Coil. I mean, because I don't know if I would ever do Coil. Like I might just make a video one of these days of just various thinker powers that might be a bit vague or confusing. But yeah, I haven't look too much into like Coil's power or Contessa's power, because that's one can, as you can kind of imagine. Well, I guess that's cool enough to know. My memory's bad, and even though I reread Worm a few times, well, brain focuses on other things. And who knows, maybe when I end up maybe making some sort of video or whatever about Contessa or Coil, that information will just be in my head somewhere. Well, that's good to know, I guess. That makes me a bit more interested in maybe making some sort of, because, you know, I'm not adverse to making like super short one-off videos. I mean, I made videos about like the kiss kill dynamic. If you've seen that, I don't know. I mean, like I said, you know, headcanon. You know, people, Worm headcanons and fanon is very fun, in their own way. So, but anyway, yeah. Like I said, you know, I'm not adverse. Maybe I will make a one-off video or videos about Coil and Contessa at some point. You know, like kind of like how I randomly made a video about the kiss kill dynamic. I don't know why I made a video about that. I mean, I know why. It was interesting enough for me. It was interesting to me, I guess, and I wanted to make a video about it. You know, obviously, but in terms of why but in terms of what led me to like look up the kiss kill dynamic and blah blah blah, I don't remember what my mind was going through. But yeah, whenever I get the Contessa and Coil, that should be fun. Fun, I guess. Because, you know, another fun thing about making these videos is like clarifying a bunch of stuff, like how everything works and whatnot. Because even now, after doing all this video, even though I haven't done that many videos, it's interesting to sort of sort things out and like what people think certain characters do from a fan perspective, or what people try to creatively try to make characters do from a fan perspective, to what they may actually be able to do, and among other things. Like when I made the Triumvirate video, there's a lot of things that I didn't know quite a bit about, like Alexandria, for example. Like, as far as I know, she just didn't age, and, you know, presumably didn't age and whatnot, and, you know, was invulnerable for the most part. But then, you know, after doing the Triumvirate video, I learned quite a few more things about Eidolon, oh gosh, but yeah, Alexandria and Legend. That was fun. And even Hero, I guess, even though there wasn't a lot about Hero, but for Hero I already kind of knew about, maybe because there probably wasn't too much about Hero. I learned just a little bit more about Hero. Not much, because there wasn't much there in the first place, but, you know. Anyway, I've gotten sidetracked. What am I doing? Oh, yeah. It has been shown a way that has been shown to us is how the number he sees clicks into place so quickly that while he mentally already knew. Let's see. All that said, while it likely isn't the definitive way he may have experienced his powers, a way that has been shown to us is how the numbers he sees clicks. How the numbers he sees click into place so quickly that while he mentally already knew that, that doesn't sound right. A way that has been shown to us is how the numbers he sees clicks into place so quickly that while he meant that, while mentally that, while mentally he already knew what was supposed to happen, his real-time senses don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Because at the end of the day, this is just something for me to say. And, if this was me, actually having to write something more formally, I guess, obviously I probably wouldn't format it this way. But, I'm making these quote unquote sentences and whatnot from the perspective of me speaking them, not so much others reading them. Besides me, obviously, but if I were to divide this, it'd be all that said. While it likely isn't the definitive way he may have experienced his powers, a way that has been shown to us is how he sees click space quickly that, while mentally he already. Because this part is still kind of weird though, so. All that said, while it likely isn't the definitive way he may have experienced his powers, a way that has been shown to us is how the numbers he sees clicks in place so quickly that maybe not mentally. That while he already all that said, a way that has been shown to us is how the numbers he's. A way that has been shown to us is how the numbers he sees. A way that has been shown to us is how the numbers he sees click into place so quickly that even though he already knew what was projected to happen, his real time. Doesn't sound right. All that said, while it likely isn't the definitive way he may have experienced his powers, a way that has been shown while it likely isn't the definitive way he may have experienced his powers, a way that has hey, we were. Well, yeah, that suggestion sort of lines up to what I've rewritten it to. Yeah, sometimes you have to just make the ordering a little bit different and just segment things better, I guess. Now let's actually do this right. All that said, while it likely isn't the definitive way he may have experienced his powers, a way that has been shown is how his real-time senses seem to have lagged behind the speed in which his powers did. His real-time senses seem to have lagged behind the speed. A way that has been shown is how his real-time senses seem to have lagged behind the speed in which his powers did demand. He already knew what was happening, but he already knew what was supposed to happen, but what he was still perceiving had yet to line up to them. Had yet to line up. Siblings. Right. All that said, while it likely isn't the different way he may have experienced powers, a way that has been shown is how his real-time senses seem to have lagged behind the speed in which his powers did the math. He already knew what was supposed to happen, but what he was still perceiving had yet to line up, simulating something that could be described as slow motion. Okay, I like that. Let me think for a few seconds, or a minute or so. Right? Is that how it goes? Let's see. All that said, while it likely isn't the definitive way he may have experienced his powers, a way that has been shown is how his real-time senses seem to have lagged behind the speed in which his powers did the math. He already knew what was projected to happen, but what he was still perceiving had yet to line up, making what was still happening. What I'm not gonna get through the whole precog thing. I mean, sure, I guess. But like then you get into that thing of like there's like people in real life. I'm pretty sure that I've read about how they're just really good at like mental math and that stuff, and they've been able to do really insane feats. So I wouldn't. I mean, in a manner of speaking, I guess it could be. I mean, from a base description of knowing what's gonna happen before it happens, yeah, a precog. But then again, precog. But fair enough. Precog kind of has a wide definition in Worm. It can mean Coil's dealio, Contessa's dealio. I suppose Numberman, what Numberman's doing, or Dinah's. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, is it deterministic? Technically, I mean, even like I'm thinking about like because even Contessa's power had blind spots and wild cards. Like this is once again because I'm mixing up fan interpretation and like real information. But like if I remember correctly, let's say disclaimer, this might be more of a fan thing, but like trigger events, for example, right? Those were wild cards. Oh yeah, fair enough. But yeah, then what was the fan like Eden like cut off, hindered that power? Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know. I guess it's deterministic, and it's really hard to tell because I don't know. I mean, obviously, it's. I mean, if you want to get meta about it, if you want to get meta about it, yeah, of course it's deterministic. It's written in the story. Oh boy, what's slated to happen will happen because it is supposed to happen. Oh, I will note though, this is a bit of a tangent, but like, while I was reading up with other funny stuff, you might know about this, but when it came to the Leviathan fight specifically, Wild Bow. Oh, I never know how to pronounce his authorial name, but yeah, Author dude. When he was doing the Leviathan fight, he really rolled the like if he it was he said it somewhere. I don't have the link anymore, but he said somewhere how yeah, probably. It's whatever. Wild Bow, Wild Bow. Anyway, Author dude, when he was doing the Leviathan fight, he made like a post somewhere how everyone could have died. Like there, like I think he did like some parameters and he rolled the dice, and that person would die in the Leviathan fight. And he mentions how even Taylor was like a candidate for death. Yeah, yeah, he did. But since Aegis died too, he said how if Taylor died, he'd probably go to Aegis. And if but since Aegis died in the Leviathan's fight, I think his third plan was to like I think bring a ward, I think was the what's what he said from like a different like to play it into the story. Because after the Leviathan fight, a lot of people got transferred into Brockton Bay. So I think his backup plan was to bring in a ward from a different branch. But it's been a while. But yeah, that was interesting and fun. And I think he even had like a little snippet about how he would have written it. Yeah, he had the backup plan. If my memory serves right, it was Taylor died, goes to Aegis. But since Aegis but if Aegis also died, in this universe where Taylor died, his third plan was to like, if I remember correctly, a ward coming in from a different branch coming to Brockton Bay. Which would have been an interesting way. Like, that's an interesting way. Like, how would the story would have ended if Taylor died there, alternatively? And whatnot. What ifs and all that jazz. But I guess, that's what could have happened. And like I said, he even had like a small snippet how I think Taylor would just like fade to black. I don't remember. I think he also wrote a few sentences on how he would have gone about her death or something. And yeah, that's a fun thing that I kind of learned in the process of various research stuff I've done. Anyway, he already knew what was Project Diamond, but what he was still perceiving had yet to line up, making what was still happening feel slow. I suppose you can. Hey, I'll just leave it at that. Okay. Is there anything else I want to talk about when it comes to describing the experience before I move on to like what he could, all the things he's been able to do or could do? Let's see, blah blah blah. Not just physics, blah blah blah. Active. Yeah, I'll get into that in a second. I'm just saying if there's anything I want to change for this particular part. Hmm. Huh. Because that'll probably be only like streaming for like half an hour more. But, blah blah blah. Blah blah blah. Blah 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 blah. Oh, I know what I want to add. Okay. Maybe a small mini side thing. Yeah. Now. Now I want to add a little asterisk to all that, since the bulb was based on a scene where he was just twirling a pen, and in that case the only variables his power had to take into account. The heck? Oh. Now I want to add a little asterisk to all that, since the above was based on a scene where he was just twirling a pen. And in that case, the only variables his power had to consider were things like velocity, general trajectory, and and the rotation of said pen. As one can imagine, with increased increased variables and as one can imagine, with increased variables and complexity, with increased variables and complexity of situations, that quote unquote slow thing may not be as prevalent, especially considering especially considering especially when considering instances where he's using his power in a less physical way, as in not in combat. Yeah, sure, whatever. That's fine enough. Maybe unnecessary, but I don't know. It's stuck in my head, and I want to add that. Okay. I see what string it says where he's using his power in the less physical. No, that's not. Yeah. Maybe. Maybe I don't need that part. Again, like I said. No. Oh gosh, I'm trying to remember. What was that scene? I'm trying to remember it. Oh, what was that scene? I'm trying to remember it. Hmm. Oh, kind of going through my memories. What was that? I guess I think it was one of his interludes or his own interlude. What was it? I think he was like fighting someone. Okay, whatever. I don't feel like looking at the print now. I feel like reading. But yeah, okay. Now I want to add a little asterisk to all that, since the bub was based on a scene where he was just twirling a pen. And in that case, the only variables his power had to consider were things like velocity, general trajectory, and the rotation of said pen. So one can imagine with increased variables and complexity of situations, that slowing effect may not be as prevalent. More so. Was probably altogether different. As one can imagine with increased variables. More so, because, when he... Well, it's not that I don't know about it, it's that a part of me doesn't feel like reading it. I know. Shame on me doing this part about Numberman and Harbinger and whatnot. It's mostly because I remember what happened. And, I remember the pen part and whatnot, but like, it's more so, it's like the experience of on the edge of my brain where I remember his fight with that escape. I'm pretty sure what was that escaping Case 53 or whatever, or prisoner at the Calder compound. And I'm just trying to remember. Yeah, go ahead. If it was the one I'm thinking about. It's mostly because I just want to jog my memory of how that, mainly so I can remember if I need to change this part a bit. I think this is mostly pretty much correct, but I'm trying to remember how his power worked when he was in a more active combat scenario rather than twirling a pen. Anyway, let's do this. More so, his general experience was probably altogether different when it came to more passive. Actually, what am I doing? I'm being an idiot. Fine. I won't be lazy. Wait, I don't want this. Wrong one. I don't want that either. Where is it? Because this is quicker for me. What was I gonna look up? Oh yeah, I remember. It was. Oh wait, I can just look up. Blah 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 blah. Where's the one I'm looking for? You could climb. Blah 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 blah. Was it this one? No, it's not that one. It was not that. It's right here somewhere, I think. Is it this one? Yeah, whatever. Please, I don't care. Ads. Wait, that's not it. Yeah. Okay, that's something else. Or maybe. I mean, I guess I'll just find it here. It should be here anyway. I mean, I'm mostly just kind of like, I wouldn't say winding down, but like, you know, just yeah, whatever. No. Why take the ease away and just typing in interlude 121 bonus 1? I want to just do the dumb thing and wait a bunch of extra unnecessary time looking at this thing and clicking the right link. It's more it's more because I know it's like on the tip of my mind and I remember it, but I don't remember it clear enough. So, you know, gotta look for it, which I don't really mind. You know, jokes aside, I don't really mind. It's whatever. Okay, that's way too much. I think I need to go to abilities, and then it should be. Which one could it be? Night Hag. I think it's this one. Yeah, here it is. Cool. Blah 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 blah. Yeah. Stuff I vaguely remember. I don't know, man. I feel like, you know, joking, you know, pants are implied. Probably. Anyway. Okay. Where is it? It's down here. Nope. Doormaker. Yeah. Faintest. Look at that. Implied pants, you know. But, you know, fun imagery, I suppose. You know, working with no pants, I suppose, isn't the weirdest. Not biologically, isn't the weirdest thing Cauldron gets up to say the least. So, none of these. Here it is. Clicking the plays. They made them. Yeah, the slow motion bit, that's where it is. Speed that made it. The rest of his very perceptions seem like slow motion, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. That's not what I'm looking for, dude. I'm looking for his actual fight, which is down here somewhere. Oh, here it is it? Oh, here it is. Yeah, I don't think it really talks about it. No one's moving. Yeah, it's very vague. We escaped together, blah, blah, blah. The number of them was already moving. The mathematical location filling his field of vision, seeing his ears, wetting along his skin, he could taste it. Virtually swam in the clear. I mean, I guess I could add that, but I don't know. It's always that situation where how much do I really want to add to everything? Well, dang. I guess I should. I really should. Oh, jeez. I guess I should add this part in some way. Yeah, I guess I should. Because that's a good contrast to, like, the other one. He measured the trajectory of the first hit as it carved. Synesthesia. I think. Yeah, synesthesia. Fine. I guess I'll add it. I mean, it's on the subject of what this part is supposed to be about. What this part is supposed to be about anyway, so I guess I'll add it. I'm gonna cut that first and then see how I can apply it. How shall I integrate that part in the way that I would want to say it out loud? Probably the synesthesia thing, but I was going to imagine with increased variables, it's like it may not be as. In fact, that's not a scenario? Oh gosh, I'm an idiot. Oh, that is how you spell scenario. Oh, I'm not a complete idiot. In fact, in a more high. What? Oh, yeah, whatever. Anyway, let's see. Let me separate that and let me think. I'll finish up this page and then I don't know, I guess I'll be done. In fact, in a more high-speed combat scenario, in a more high-speed combat scenario, in fact, to give a point of comparison, in a more high-speed combat scenario, In fact, to give a point of comparison, in the more high-speed combat scenario, we were told how the Mati saw how it ran across his skin, along his skin, across his skin. Is that in the more high-speed combat scenario, we were told how the mat he saw sang in his ears. How it ran across. I'll just keep how it ran along his skin. How there seemed to be some sort of synesthesia effect when using his powers. How there seemed to be some sort of synesthesia when using his powers. How there seemed to be some sort of synesthesia effect when using his powers. In a sense. Oh yeah. Metaphorical or not, he described it as haste. No, more gentle heal. Okay, maybe I should change that quickly before I'm done. Let's see. More so, blah blah blah. As one can imagine, with increased runs. In fact, to give a point of comparison, in a more high-speed combat scenario, we were told how the mat we saw who sang. That's mostly for me. So sang in his ears. How it ran along his skin. More so, how there seemed to be some sort of synesthesia effect when using his powers in that instance. Metaphorical or not, he described it as tasting manifestations. As if he was swimming in a clear, precise, organized outline. In a quote, clear, precise, organized. There we go. I like that. I like that. Well, yeah. What the heck? Oh, okay. More so, he also described it. More so, he also described it as if he was tasting. What it is. As if he was. More so, he also described it as if he was tasting the map. As if he was swimming in the quote clear, precise, organized outline of the world around him. I like that. I like that. I don't need to add this indecision part. People are smart enough, or I don't know. People can make their own conclusions of what that exactly means. To give a point of comparison, in a more high-speed combat scenario, we were told how the mat he saw sang to him. How the mat he saw sang in his ears, how it ran along his skin. More so, he also. Maybe not more so. Okay, I might as well look at that again. More so, he described it as if. Yeah, I don't have that. More so, he described it as if he was tasting, as if he was swimming in a. Okay. Yep. Okay. Okay. That was surprisingly kind of fun. I got to chat a little bit here and there, which is fine because, you know, I mostly just do this to put some degree of pressure on me. But yeah, I guess I'm done. And who knows, maybe I'll do this again tomorrow. But yeah, see ya.